You can ignore the market at the beginning, but eventually the appraisal is going to force this conversation anyway. And what this conversation is overpricing your house doesn't avoid the appraisal. So let's explain. Sellers naturally want the most money possible for their house. And really, quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with that. You've lived in the house, you put work into it, it's a place that you've called home. But the market is ultimately going to determine what you can sell that house for, not hope. And so momentum really matters. And let me explain. The strongest activity when you list your house is typically happening in the first 4 weeks that your house is on the market. Buyers watch new listings very, very closely, and excitement fades quickly if they perceive that house is overpriced. The first 30 days are where sellers create huge leverage and can actually have a lot of negotiating power. However, appraisals are market-based. And so if you want to price your home high, even if you get an accepted offer, you're still going to be subject to an appraisal on that property. And this is where you want to be aware of how the appraisals work. Because what appraisers actually do is they compare recently sold homes to the sales price that your house has. They look for conditional issues and whether the house has been updated and such like that. They evaluate size, location, and features, and then they determine a supportive market value using those past sales that happen. So an appraisal doesn't care what you owe or how much money you want to make out of the property, what you need, or even what the Zillow's estimate says. The appraisals are using past market data to determine what your ultimately maximum sales price is going to be. And so the challenge you have is when you overprice, it creates a couple of problems. Number one, you're going to get fewer showings on the property than you would if you were priced correctly, because people are not motivated to come and see your property. You got to motivate them to get off the couch, and that usually means you need to show them a value. You're going to get fewer offers because people are going to think the house is overpriced, so consequently they're not even going to make the effort. You're going to take longer days on the market. You're going to have less negotiating power. Once the property's been on the market for 4, 5, 6 months, you're not going to be able to negotiate like you can in the first 30 days. Buyers might assume there's something wrong, and a lot of times those offers are going to reflect that, and eventually you're going to end up doing price reductions anyway. So many sellers eventually end up negotiating against the appraisal in the end anyway. So just do it right in the beginning. So one of the things that you want to be aware of is that the appraisal it's not what you perceive your house is worth. Let's say you have a 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Let's just say in Indian Hills. What the appraiser is going to do is he's going to look at 3 other or 4 other, 5 other homes that have sold that are 1,500 square foot, 3 bedrooms, and in Indian Hills if possible. And if your sales price is $250 and those other properties only sold for $225, you're unlikely going to get a $250,000 appraisal. And so what you want to understand is when you're dealing with FHA loans, which is a huge segment of our buyer population, VA loans, which is a huge segment of our buyer population, and even when you're dealing with conventional loans, they all rely on an appraisal evaluation of value to determine what the ultimate sales price is. So even if a buyer wants to overpay for your house, the lender likely will not allow it. So pricing your home correctly doesn't mean giving away your home. It means positioning it so your home creates the strongest demand possible, thereby giving you the best chance to sell for the highest price, the most leverage in the negotiation, and less time on the market, which reduces stress across the board. So what I want to tell you is if you really want a strategy instead of guesswork, you can give me a call. This is Jason Valentine at Coldwell Banker, High Desert Realty. You can call me on my cell phone, 575-496-1068. You can call me at the office, 505-863-4363, or you can use the link above to set up a time. There's going to be a link to my calendar, so you can set up a time for me to give you a call and give you more information about what it's going to take to sell your house in today's very, very competitive market. So if you have any questions, give me a call. If not, just book the link up top and we'll do a telephone call, find out more about your house, and start developing that strategy for you to win. Thank you so much for the time, and I hope you found this little tidbit of information useful, and let's use it to help you get the most for your house in the most reasonable time possible. Thanks. Bye-bye.